Maka's guides.
Hey guys, Maka here with another end of the year countdown video. This one's a bit of an opinion piece. We're going to be talking about a couple of games that I thought were underrated or underappreciated in 2019, with the goal of shedding some light on games that I think could use a little bit more attention. Now, the term of underrated in this video is going to be used pretty loosely. I'm not just talking about Metacritic scores. I'm also talking about things like general popularity, reputation, and sales. If you have a certain game in mind that I don't end up talking about, it could just be because I thought that game was well received and that it had all the attention it needed. I would encourage you to go to the YouTube comments and post what game you thought was underrated, and maybe you'll influence some people to go try it. I also asked on Twitter what people thought were underrated games, and some popular responses that aren't in the video included Control, Remnant from the Ashes, Creature in the Well, and Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair. Let's get started with my top 7. Now, originally this video was only supposed to list 5 games, but I could not eliminate 2 games, and one of those was Trials Rising, because the gameplay in this game is absolutely amazing, and it is designed from the ground up for Trials fans. They also added a great tutorial for newcomers to be able to come into the series and learn all of the tips and tricks they needed in order to get up into the harder levels. They've been releasing fresh content periodically over time, but for some reason it just didn't feel like this game stuck and found a new audience or even revived the old audience that it had. Unfortunately, there was a progression system that seemed to turn away the casuals where you needed to level over time to unlock later levels in the game, and there were a lot of bugs in Track Central that really halted the community building aspect of the game. Additionally, they did try new things like presenting the game on a world map, which I thought was not a great idea as it really confused the game unnecessarily. But at the end of the year, I only played a handful of games for more than 100 hours, and Trials Rising was one of them. I really loved it. I spent a lot of time with it. And when I look at the game for what it is, I think it was designed immaculately in terms of its gameplay, and that's what's most important to me. And I'd love to see more people hop onto this game and give it a try, so for that reason, it made my underrated list. In the number 6 position, I have A Plague Tale: Innocence, and this was also another game that I was going to scrap until the last minute, because personally, I thought the game had really good ratings. I thought it sold really well considering that it was a new IP and from a smaller studio, and generally, I thought it had a good reputation and was very popular, but this was probably the most recommended game on Twitter, so I decided to add it back since I already had some notes written out about it. Now, this game, in my opinion, is exactly what I want to see from a small studio making a new IP. A great AA experience focusing on a story and a single player, with a fantastic surprise of rich storytelling, superb environments, gorgeous graphics, incredible music, great level design, with well thought out stealth and set pieces. Unfortunately, some of the late game mechanics are kind of weak and they're faltered by poor controls, and there's also an unnecessary crafting system in my opinion. But with that being said, A Plague Tale: Innocence, in my opinion, is a must-play from 2019, and I'm very excited to see what this studio can do moving forward. So for that reason, I'm going to throw it in the video this time around. Rounding off the top 5, I have World War Z, a game that I really expected nothing of, but it actually delivered quite a bit of fun, and I thought it was a really well-made game. Luckily, this game is also on Xbox Game Pass, so it has a super low barrier to entry, and because it is most enjoyed in co-op, you should hop on with some friends who also have Game Pass. You can get 3 months for $1, by the way. I'll leave a link in my description if you want to hop on that deal. Overall, I think World War Z is a great time. The controls are nice and precise and feel really tight. The level design and enemy design make the game fun to play. And being able to travel to unique locales in the campaign is also refreshing. Now, having the game tie in with the World War Z license was probably a great thing for the game because it got a lot more attention to it. However, I think it also turned some people away, thinking that they didn't really know much about World War Z and therefore they're going to skip the game, which I think was a bad decision by those people. Personally, I had zero ties to the World War Z license, but still enjoyed the game pretty thoroughly. Also, the campaign for this game is only about 4 to 5 hours. Some people see that as a negative, but I think in this game's case, it's actually a positive because it definitely didn't overstay its welcome. The game also has a PvP mode, which I tried for about 30 minutes or an hour, and I really did not enjoy, but I know some people do hop on there and actually have a good time, so I think the game is definitely worth checking out if you already haven't. Next up, in the number 4 spot, I have Dirt Rally 2.0, the best racing game I played in 2019 by a long shot. Now, when I first sat down with this game for about 2 hours, I had a really rough time. It has a really steep learning curve, it's a very difficult game, and the menus and tutorials really don't help it either, as not much is explained in terms of the best ways to enjoy the game. I then took a break from it for a couple of months and ended up coming back when I had some extra time, and boy was I happy I did. I played this game almost non-stop for a week and really enjoyed all the different aspects of it once I took the time to sit down and learn the details. I wouldn't be surprised to hear that other people have had similar experiences, maybe trying it on Game Pass and then finding that they didn't enjoy it and immediately stopping, or just skipping the game entirely out of fear that it's too hard. But I want to say that you should stick with it, and once you learn it, it's definitely worth it. The graphics are absolutely insane. The audio is some of the best I've heard in a racing game, if not the best. The level of immersion while whipping around a corner in cockpit view is unprecedented, and I think the game offers a lot of variety with the different race styles, different rally cars, and the different tracks that it offers. If you haven't checked out Dirt Rally 2 already, I would highly recommend it. Stick with it, learn the basics, and get better over time. It's an incredibly rewarding experience, and I hope you can enjoy it as much as I did. The next game may or may not be a surprise for you depending on whether or not you care about the genre, and that is Ace Combat 7. Yes, a flight game in 2019. Now, first things first, the game offers 2 different kind of control styles, and I would 100% highly recommend that you play on the expert controls. It is a vastly superior experience in every single way possible. Now, flight games are sometimes a forgotten genre, and personally, it's been about 10 years since I played a good flight game, but it's nice to have Ace Combat back on the Xbox, and I was very impressed. It actually had really good cinematics and told a pretty good story, and it had a 14-hour campaign with a lot of different variety and quite a nice and rewarding feeling of challenge. Also, it was an incredible feeling in 2019 to play a new game on launch day and have everything work 100% flawlessly. No server issues and no glitches to be found. The game also had a really cool soundtrack to jam out to while you played, which I really enjoyed. Now, again, this game's not going to be flawless. There are some issues with it. Although it looks very pretty, I wish it was Xbox One X enhanced, which it was not. And I didn't like the fact that you couldn't change the difficulty from mission to mission. Once I was locked into hard, I had to play on hard. Once I found a mission I couldn't beat, it forced me to keep playing on hard. It ended up being a very rewarding feeling, but it would have been nice to be able to change difficulty down to normal for a mission or two. Additionally, if you don't pay close attention to the mission briefings, it's also very easy to choose the wrong plane for the job, and if you do so, certain missions feel almost impossible if you don't have the right equipment selected, which can be a little bit frustrating. Either way, I think a lot of people probably wrote this game off just based on the fact that it was in the flight genre, and that's not a genre they normally play. However, I would challenge you to maybe try this game if you do get the opportunity to. I think there's a good chance that it will be above your expectations. In at the number 2 position, I have Man of Madon, which is part of the Dark Pictures anthology. I thought this game was really great, and for some reason, a lot of people seemed to disagree, or a lot of people seemed to not play it at all. Now, it came out on the same day as Control, and I think a lot of people picked that one up instead of this one. And it also didn't get very favorable reviews, which I think a lot of people who were on the fence ended up deciding to skip it and save their money. To me, it seemed like this game just didn't get the attention it deserved, and that it didn't get the amount of players it deserved. Now, for those unfamiliar, this game was made by the same studio that made Until Dawn, which I also really enjoyed, and I tend to be a fan of the horror, thriller, mystery type genre of game and movie. A lot of people probably skip this game because of its length being only around 3 or 4 hours, but I have seen the game go on sale a lot of times since its release, so you might be able to grab it for cheap. Additionally, it is a bit of a movie game, and a lot of people assume that you'll play it once and forget about it, and you might, but I also think the game offers a decent amount of replayability. It has a lot of different modes, and I found that on my second and third playthrough, I learned a lot more about the characters and the story than I thought I would. And I realized that the game was actually a lot more complex than I originally thought. One of my biggest pet peeves is story games that give you the illusion of choice, but no matter what you do, you always get the same outcome. And I feared that this game would do that no matter what I did, the ending was pretty much always going to be the same. But when I played it a couple of times, I realized that what I did actually did have a significant impact with what happened in the story. And being able to enjoy the same events from different characters' perspectives was actually a really big treat. Additionally, the graphics as well as the facial animations and script and voice acting in the game was incredible. Overall, I think that this game deserves a little bit more attention, and I think it deserves a little bit of a better reputation than it has, which is why it is so high up on my list. And I enjoyed it for being so different from all of the other games that I normally play, and for trying to be unique. If you like spooky games, I would definitely recommend this one. Now, in at my number 1 position, I have a game called Sayonara Wild Hearts, and if you haven't heard of it, that is the exact reason as to why it is on my list as an underrated game. I think it's actually one of the best games I've played this year, period. Now, by definition, this is an indie game. It was made by a very small group of people and didn't have any kind of crazy marketing budget either. Now, there were a lot of reasons that I really love this game, but number one and most importantly is that it was like nothing I had ever played before. It is entirely unique and really helps break up the monotony of playing action games and shooter games nonstop every week. The game is a little bit artsy-fartsy, but it wouldn't be a Maka video if I didn't have at least one of those types of games in my list. But the soundtrack to this game is actually what makes it incredible, and really it's the pivotal and most important central piece to the game, because the game is basically an interactive CD. It's the part of the game that makes it unique and, in my opinion, a must-play, but probably the biggest reason most people won't play the game. It costs around $10 and will only last you 1 hour for a playthrough. After that, you're playing the same levels over and over, and there is some replayability in terms of getting collectibles and trying to get gold ratings on all the levels, but if you're the type of person to only want to enjoy a game once, you'll be starting and finishing within the same hour. Now, personally, I'm definitely a quality over quantity type of guy. I'd rather play 1 hour of an incredible game than 50 hours of an average game, especially when the game is this unique and tries so many new things. Each and every single level to the game feel like they can almost be their own game. In one level, you're controlling a motorcycle in a busy city, while in the other, you are skateboarding in a dream fantasy land. This game is truly an audio-visual masterpiece in my opinion, and it's exciting to see something so different and unique come up. Hopefully we can see more games like this in the future. If you haven't given this game a chance and you enjoy what you're seeing on screen, I would highly recommend you try it either on the PC, Switch, or iOS. I've also had my fingers crossed since the day that this game came out that we will see it on Xbox. My hopes are high. Nonetheless, I encourage you to go to the comments and let us know what you think was an underrated game. Hopefully, we can all try each other's games and maybe we can enjoy gaming just a little bit more because of it. I'd like to thank you for watching. Drop a like if you thought the video was well made or you had a good time watching it. Share it with your friends. Don't forget to check out some of the other videos on the channel. Subscribe for future content. And hopefully I see you soon. A special thank you to everyone on Patreon for supporting the channel, and shout out to 00. Peace.